Hello everybody. So I went and got a dyno tune on the LT1 Monday, and it did pretty good. I was hoping for a little bit more on motor, but it put down 400 to the tires on motor, and that was with a dyno dynamics, which they read low from what I understand, but it was the corrected numbers. The 400 was, and then that was with the stall unlocked. It probably would have showed more if he'd locked the stall converter, but that's not real world. That's not how you don't race down the track with the stall converter locked. But stall unlocked, dyno dynamics, dyno, and then yeah, did pretty good. 400 to the tires, and on the motor, again, I was hoping for a little bit more there, but I'm happy with that. And then on the nitrous, with the proton kit, everybody tells me on them nitrous proton kits they won't spray more than 150. Well, mine was the kit I bought, and it only had the jets for 150, but I called up Nitrix Express, and I said, I got the shark. It had the shark nozzle. So there's two different nozzles. The Piranha can only go up to like 150, and then the shark nozzle, it can go up to 250. So I called Nitrix Express, and I was like, how do you get this thing to spray 250? And you just have to upgrade the line, the nitrous line, from the solenoid to the nozzle. It needs a bigger line. Don't quote me on this, but I think it was a 4AN line, but you upgrade it to a 6AN line with the 4AN fittings on each end, so you can still screw it on. But anyway, we sprayed it with 200 shot, and it actually put down 220 horsepower to the rear tires. So, and that kit goes up to 250, but everybody says that you don't want to spray more than 200 through the stock intake manifold. And I'll probably try the 250 anyway, just once, someday. But for now, it's on the 200 shot. But here's some videos of the LT1 on the dyno at shore tuning. Oh, also another thing. I had, if you watched some of my videos before, I had wired this car up for flex fuel to the computer. But talking to some people, they said that the flex fuel on the PL1 0411 computers doesn't work that great. So what I did was I just ran it to a gauge. Since I already put the flex fuel sensor in there and everything, I just ran it to the gauge. But I still had the wire for it wired up for the computer, which if you have the torque head and you have a 9697, it is really simple, because the torque head don't use the 4x reluctor anymore. And those wires that go to the 4x reluctor actually one of the wires goes to the red pin 1, which on torque head is the flex fuel. So all I really had to do was take that wire unplug it from the 4x reluctor down there at the bottom front of the timing cover, and run it up to the top. It had the ground wire there. It had my voltage wire, plus it had the reference wire. So it had everything I needed. All I had to do was, plug it into the sensor, and it worked. So I was initially going to, got my hand over the thing there. I was initially going to go with just separate tunes for E85, because honestly, I don't really drive the car a lot anymore. And when I do, like, the farthest I'll go is like Lexington to Cars and Coffee and stuff like that. And there's a E85 gas station in Winchester, which is on the way to Lexington. There's also there's a bunch of gas stations that are E85 in Lexington as well. So didn't really have a need to switch fuels, but it'd kind of be neat to run flex fuel just so, you know, you can run all the E85 out of it and then, you know, put 93 in it and drive it in the winter, or let it set with the 93 in it rather than the E85, because E85 over the winter is supposed to be a bad thing. But I told him I had it hooked up to the computer, and he was like, he said, go ahead and wire it back in, plug the computer part in. He said, I'll do the flex fuel. So that's what we did. So now my LT1 is flex fuel. And my pad, if you're wondering how to do flex fuel on the LT1 with the torque head, you can watch one of my other videos on how I wired all that up. It's in there. But yeah, I'm flex fuel now. Car put down 400 to the wheels on motor, and then 620 on spray on a 200 shot with just a little proton kit, that single nozzle I have wired into the intake. But here's some videos of the dyno pull and some pictures of the results. Here's the Camaro on the dyno, and there's James Short with Short Tuning, about to work his magic. He comes highly recommended. He's very good at what he does. Here's gets the tune dialed in and port throttle and idle. And here's getting the tune dialed in for cruising on the street. It had a little bit of tip in, plus at the lower RPMs, like when I was trying to stay to the car, it wanted to fluctuate up and down, so it was tip in and that out of there. Here we're making a small hit on the motor, see what it does. Here's another hit on the motor. Here's the graph for the two motor hits. Then we hit it with a 200 shot. Then again with the 200 shot. And here's the graph with the best motor pull and the best nitrous pull. Like I said, the car did really well, in my opinion, for what it is. It's just a 383 LT1 with stock ported heads, stock ported intake, 58 millimeter throttle body, you know, and your typical bolt-ons. And before the dyno tune, he had actually tuned it with a did the email tune, but my wideband was so far off it wasn't even funny. So it was really hard to get him to get it dialed in like that. But even like that, and then I mess with the tune a little bit as well, because I can tune on these cars a little bit. I don't know a whole lot, but now I know how to mess with the timing and the air fuel ratio, and where I've worked on cars quite a bit throughout the years. You know, I know what these type of cars like. You know, they're pretty much small block Chevys, so, you know, cars like that usually like, you know, 32 to 38 degrees timing, and they like the AFR on the, even though this is the 85, but you can still read it on the gas scale. So on the gas scale, you know, they usually like, you know, as low as 12 up to 13 AFR fuel ratio on the gas scale.
But I messed with that a little bit. And I was able to, if you saw some of my past videos, I was able to get the car to 1112 at 122. And hopefully the dyno tune will get me there. But also the stall converter is way too tight, as I mentioned before in some of my videos. And then we're going to, next thing to do is take the transmission out and send that stall off to Yank. I'll send him a chart of the graph here that we're looking at to Yank, and some other information that they may need. I'm going to get with them and see exactly what they need. I know they need the RPM drop, which I've got that on a log, and then the dyno should help as well. I was shifting this car at 6,800, and it actually peaked a lot sooner than I thought it would. So I may be shifting this thing way too high, because I was assuming that my max torque was around 4,900, and looking at the chart here, it looks to be more around, 4,750 area. So I could probably lower them shifts. From what I understand, not no expert at this, but from what I understand, you want the RPM drop to max torque, which on mine looks to be anywhere from 4,500 to 4,700, 4,800. It stays pretty flat. So, and it also seems to, I thought it would carry this horsepower a little bit farther for what it is. It's the LE2 heads. They have the LE1, the LE2, and the LE3. But with the ported intake and the LE2 heads, I thought it would, even, that cam's pretty big. It's a 244, 254, 610, 620 lift on a 110. So I thought it would carry the horsepower out farther in RPM, but is what it is, I guess. But yeah, hopefully the tune will get me in the 10s on the motor, and then if that don't, I'm pretty sure the stall would get me there regardless. But that's next on the list. Hope y'all stay tuned for that, and hoping for 10 on motor, 9s on nitrous. We with my tune that I did with the nitrous, it ran a 1038 at 128, something like that. But I mean, the tune was way off. It was way too rich, and I think it could have used more timing. I think it was too rich. Like I said, my wideband, he was comparing my wideband to his that he had hooked up, and it was, my wideband is not reading good at all. But I do have a C-clamp in between the header and the pipe that I do have the wideband in. So, and he had put his wideband directly into the to the port on the long tube header. So, and there was a big difference there. But hopefully 9s on. Oh, also with that 1038 at 128 on nitrous, that was with a 2-second progressive delay, so it didn't hit the 200 until 2 seconds. So it ramps in. It's like, half a second it was at 50, 1 second it's at 100, second and a half it's at 150, and then 2 seconds it's at 200. So that'll I 60-footed about barely faster than what I usually do on motor, but hopefully it'll hook good. I can spray it right out of the hole and it'll run a 9. But stay tuned. We'll do the transmission in the stall. We'll make some trips to the track if they don't close. The tracks around here close around this time, so we might not be able to get any passes in for the rest of the year. But if not, we're going to do the torque converter. I'd like to do the floor pans. Passenger back floor pans rusted out a little bit. I'd like to get that fixed and put a 6-point roll cage in it and some race seats and new carpet, and get the dash pad fixed, and maybe get it painted, start getting it to look good, since we're getting the motor where I like it. But yeah, stay tuned, and thanks for watching.